today, guys, we're going to look at el pretérito. You can see it up here. El pretérito, that's how we say it in Spanish. It's in English, it's just the preterite tense. And I always kind of nickname it, or not nickname it, but use this sort of in quotes one-time event in the past, of course, because and now again, if you do it more than once, you can still use the preterite. But I make that distinction because we also have el imperfecto, or the imperfect tense, which is going to be more associated with things that you have done habitually in the past. And so, of course, there's a difference between going to the beach once or going to surf this past weekend versus going to surf every day after class while you were in college. So there's a big difference between those two, at least in the Spanish language. So, but we're not going to worry about the imperfect today. We're just going to worry about the preterite. And so I'm going to draw a line here just for fun. And as you guys can see, he's still joining us for class. Apparently he wants to learn Spanish, so we let him hang around. Anyway, so el pretérito, and like I said, what I want to do with you guys today is look at more of the mechanics, look at the how-to, if you will, and then we'll take care of these sentences here and figure out how to use the preterite in a sentence. So, of course, when it comes to the preterite, this is sort of the out of the gates lesson. The preterite is, for me, probably one of the most nuanced or meticulous tenses, just because of there's a lot of stem changing that can occur with some verbs, and there's what we call like cargarzar, and there's all sorts of different little tweaks, and then of course you have your whole host of irregular verbs in the preterite. But like I said, for today, we're just going to focus on our endings, and we're just going to work on some simple mechanics just to get it sort of dialed in before we get into anything a bit trickier with the preterite. And so, having said that, well, let's take a look at the how-to, right? So how do we conjugate a verb in the good old regular preterite, right? That means nothing's changing in the stem, nothing's too off, right? And so again, so for regular preterite, we drop the AR, ER, IR in much of the same way we did with the present tense, the present indicative. We just, especially with the regular present indicative, we just drop the AR, ER, IR, right? So you have an AR here, you've got an ER here, you've got an IR. So you just drop that off, and then you're left with what we call the stem, right? I've got it right here as well, right? And it's all, in Spanish, it's la raíz. So the stem is basically the verb, the infinitive unconjugated verb, minus the AR, ER, IR. So anyways, so we drop the AR, ER, IR, and then we add the ending to the stem, right? And so that's why I have written here stem plus, I don't know if you can see that, it's supposed to be a plus sign, right? Stem plus whatever these endings are. And so let's have a look at the endings, and then we'll take a look at how to make that work in the sentence. So for ARs, we have E con acento, I call it E con acento, or E with an accent, aste, O con acento, right? Con acento just means with accent. So I'm saying O con acento, amos, astais, y Aaron, right? So Aaron, right here is the third person plural, third person singular, O con acento, right? Just to reiterate. But again, E con acento, aste, O con acento, amos, astais, and Aaron. So those are what we call the endings, right? And so we'll take these endings and then we would attach it to the stem. And we'll take a look at that down here when we do some practice sentences. Now over here, ER, IR, most of you all are used to ER and IR having their own separate endings. And they did with the present tense. Now they sort of share the same endings when we move them into the present or preterite tense. So when we want to use it as a preterite, you can see here, both ER and IR will share these verb conjugations, let's say. So we have y con acento, iste, io, right? O with an accent, and then imos, istes, and then ieron, right? And so we'll do that again. Y con acento, again, I'm just saying I with an accent. And take note here, this isn't I dot accent. If the I has an accent, there's no need for a dot over it, right? Like here we have a dot over it because there's no accent. Here there's no accent. But because we have an accent here, we don't need a dot. So you just put an accent there. So y con acento, iste, io, and notice the accent is over the letter O, imos, istes, and then ieron. And again, those are the endings that get put on to the back of the stem. So let's just take a look at some examples we have and wrap this up. So we have ayer. Ayer means yesterday, right? And so what you'll notice in much of the same way you use English, right? If you say yesterday, you're obviously alluding to the past, right? And so we have that in Spanish too. So we'd say ayer, yesterday, yo, and then we have mirar, una buena película. So yesterday I watched a good movie. And so yo is the subject, right? And so just like with the present, just like with any tense, we need subject-verb agreement. So let's see, we have an AR verb, so we're over here with this list, and then we have yo, which is gonna be right here, because that's the first person singular. So we're gonna drop the AR, right? That's our step one, and then we add our ending being E with an accent or E con acento. So we have yo. Ayer yo miré una buena película. So yesterday I watched a good movie. Let's check out number two. El sábado pasado, so last Saturday, right? El sábado and then pasado, it's saying past Saturday. So again, applying, referencing the past. So el sábado pasado, nosotros, so now nosotros is our subject, right? That means we. And so we have cocinar una muy buena cena. So el sábado pasado nosotros cocinar una muy buena cena. And now we want to conjugate it. So again, we've got an AR verb, and our subject is nosotros, so now we got to come over here. This is nosotros, and so we would say, el sábado pasado nosotros cocinamos una muy buena cena. Now, have a look at this. Notice that cocinar in the preterite and cocinar in the present are actually the same word. Now, clearly, if I say el sábado pasado and then I say cocinamos, we know we're referencing the past, right? If I said esta noche, for example, tonight, esta noche nosotros cocinamos una muy buena cena, that would be saying tonight I cook a good dinner. And so that's, while it is the exact same spelling, you're gonna know because of context. And so these sort of words are gonna let you know whether we're talking about the present, we're talking about the past, and then of course later the future. So here we go, here's another good one. Número tres, anoche, last night. So anoche is last night. La noche, or just noche, that's night. But anoche, right, that's saying last night. And so we have anoche tu volver a casa tarde. So we're saying, last night you came home late, right? And so we have an ER verb. So now we're going to come over to this list and we have, right, we're going to drop that. We have our stem. Now check this out. You guys know that volver is actually an O to UE stem changer in the present indicative. But that doesn't matter anymore because we're in the preterite. And so I just want to bring that to your attention and show you that while it may have been a stem changer in the present indicative, does not automatically make it a stem changer in the preterite. We'll talk about that in a different class. So anyways, back to number three. Anoche tu volver a casa tarde. So we drop the ER, we've got our stem, V-O-L-V, and then we want to. So we're gonna take this, that's a dot there, and so we would put tu volviste. Anoche tu volviste a casa tarde. All right? And so number four, moving right along, we've got an IR verb. Got to mix it up, of course. El año pasado. So here was el sábado pasado. Now we've got el año pasado. So that's last year. Of course, that's in the past, right? And so we have el año pasado, ellos, right? This is our subject, ellos, third person plural, right? That's right here and right here. That's third person plural. El año pasado, ellos, and then we want to drop the IR, right? And we have ellos, so we need this. So we would put el año pasado, ellos vivieron en Buenos Aires. So last year, they lived in Buenos Aires, in Argentina. Good. That looks good, right? Número 5. This is the last one. So let's see. Make sure we understand this. Esta mañana. So this morning, right? So it's past. So like this morning. El beber mucho café. So this morning he drank a lot of coffee, right? And so, esta mañana, right? That looks good. And again, this is saying this morning with mañana being morning, but then esta mañana making it this morning, right? More specific. El, right? We got the accent there, so that's letting us know it's he. So el, and then beber, ER verb. We drop the ER, and then we're looking at third person singular. So we've got this one right here. So it's el bebió. Let's get rid of that and that. Let's put a dot there and an accent over the O. So el bebió, right? So that's supposed to be an accent. So el bebió mucho café. And notice it's mucho café, right? Because this is a masculine singular noun. So to say much coffee, or in English, a lot of coffee, you'd say mucho, not mucha. So it'd be mucho café, right? So esta mañana él bebió mucho café. So this is how we do sort of the basic preterite, right? This is the mechanics of it, and then how to use it in a sentence, of course, to apply to something that's gone on in the past. And so this is a bit of an introduction into the preterite, and as I said, it will get a bit more nuanced as we move along, but nevertheless, this is a great start. So hopefully this was helpful.